Welcome to our podcast about the systems and the games we play and how those inspire the ones we make. I'm CJ.
And I'm Sam, and this is Systems in Play.
Hey guys, we're doing the GMTK Game Jam 2024 this year.
Coming at you live. The theme was announced about an hour and change ago. We had a little lunch, had a little drive talking about what we're gonna do for the theme, which is built to scale.
Yeah. So this will be developer's log number 001.
000.
My bad. Yeah.
Already?
damn. Yeah. So right off the bat, we tried to name some of the stuff that we know is going to be submitted, and we're going to try to not do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we don't want to fall into the pool.
Right.
The pool of things.
Right. We already have to compete with so many people. We don't want to compete on an idea that's already going to be done by a lot of people. You know, like CJ mentioned earlier, we're almost definitely going to see some variation of like a platformer where you're stacking boxes or making boxes grow to get to different places in the platformer. And I'm sure there's going to be a couple really good iterations of that idea, but I don't want to have to compete with the guaranteed dozens of ideas just like that.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of great platformers where you scale stuff, but and ours will not be that great. So
yeah,
we're going to try to do something else.
Yeah, try and compete on originality of idea to make up for the fact that we're not going to have the most well-programmed game out there.
I realized as soon as we said that, just now, we're boxing ourselves in. And when we release our one of 1,000 other the same game,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna feel pretty bad for saying that.
Well, that's the goal. That's the goal. Whether or not we achieve it,
yeah.
That's the strategy. That's the strategy because I don't know. I think game jams are about having fun, but I also like to think about it like a competition, and that motivates me to compete. So I want to do well.
Yeah, this is Devlog 000. We're going to sound bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for this one. And by, the last one, we're going to be dead inside.
Yeah. So. If by the last one you hear the occasional, cigarette pull, just know neither of us smoked at the beginning of this.
So I guess we could explain that if we haven't in the description or whatever. We're going to be recording quick, 20, 30-minute snippets of a podcast every day that we're doing this. And we're going to have one big episode released this Friday. Yeah. Hopefully, things go according to plan.
Yeah. If we're not too mentally dead to edit audio after that. I guess for those unfamiliar, a game jam is a competition where you have a limited amount of time to make a game based on the same theme as everybody else competing. And you're typically judged on how well you adhere to the theme, if your game actually runs, if it's good. And then for the GMTK Game Jam in particular, it's crowd-sourced rankings where everybody plays your game and leaves a ranking, and that that determines the overall ranking. And then the GMTK is a YouTube channel about game design. The host, Mark, then goes through and picks of the top 100 games in the list. He picks the ones that he thinks are the most interesting and then creates a video about those.
Yeah, if you listen to us and you don't listen to GMTK, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, honestly. I feel like he has to show up in our recommended constantly. And if they don't, YouTube, what are you doing?
Yeah, for real. So, since we're going to keep this short, let's jump right into some of the ideas initially. These might not be what happened, but this is what we were brainstorming in our little brainstorm sesh earlier.
Yeah.
The theme is built to scale, and my dumb punny mind immediately went to build a building and then scale it.
The building is built to scale.
Yeah, you literally built something to scale it. That's where my mind like immediately went. That's one of the ideas we had.
And then, of course, the building is big. It is at a large scale.
Exactly.
You get it. You get it.
And I think Sam's one of his ideas came from a book.
Yeah, I'm reading We Are Many, the second book in the Bobiverse series, which is based on the concept of von Neumann probes, which is basically a space probe that has the ability to replicate itself and collect the raw materials in space to do so. So it's like a little flying thing, and it has a 3D printer, and it has all of the material, all of the tools to like mine an asteroid to get the material to make another one. And then that spreads to another one, and then the 4 can make 8, and then the 8 can make 16. And so doing something along the lines of like scaling to exponential numbers of characters or minions, however we would do that. That is another idea that we have been toying around with.
Yeah, I was immediately thinking like Pikmin, but instead of like little carrot people and onions, you've got robots and 3D printers.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, and then you get to do with like space in general has like an inherent massive scale to it, and there could be fun stuff with that. But that's just one of the ideas in the can.
And I take it Bobiverse does not mean the vast multiverse of different Bob Ross variants.
Not Bob Ross, unfortunately, but
Darn.
It is. The book is about one guy named Bob, who the robots are run by a copy of his consciousness that was put onto a computer, and so every instance of a probe is an instance of him.
Oh man,
It's a really interesting book. It's really funny.
that's cool. That's cool. It reminds me of what is it? Endless Space 2. It's like a space civ game. One of the civilizations you can pick is, I forget his name, but it's one guy who like replicated himself 1 billion times, and he now has a civilization of him. It's really fun.
Oh, that's very, very much what this is. Very similar.
Probably what it's based on, to be honest.
This is actually fairly recent. I think the
Oh.
first book came out in 2016, and the most recent one comes out like this month or
okay.
next month, which is wild.
So that's another idea. I think that could be neat.
Yeah. You had another cool one.
Oh, yeah. So I also thought of like a shoot 'em up, but kind of like a dodge 'em up. No, a bullet hell is the name for that, actually.
Okay, yeah.
You're like a ball in the center of the screen, or some other shape, but you have like a hollowed out, maybe a line through you or something, and you have to like scale that ball and rotate it in order for the bullets to either pass through you or go around you or be small enough to dodge them. But, being bigger would mean that they could go through the center of the ball, but also you could get hit from above now because you're big. That's one of my ideas.
I really like this one in terms of just like the other things that I've come up with, I think are concepts with the idea, but they aren't necessarily games. I think what you've come up with feels like an actual game. I can think about that and I'm like, okay, that actually does sound fun. Whereas, the Bobiverse rip-off game is, I'm like, okay, you would be doing what with, I guess, controlling people and, maybe like some loop of mining for resources, but I don't even like mining games. And that actually sounds like a game. And I think that's, in my opinion, the most promising of concepts.
Well, thank you. It's because you asked earlier. You're like, okay, let's think about this in terms of mechanics, because everything we'd come up before was just concepts and ideas about like what a game could be, and then you're like, let's just think about this in terms of a fun mechanic to play with, and that's where my mind immediately went.
I think that's the way to do it. I think make a mechanic around the theme that's fun. What would be if they threw in a new Mario power-up that had something to do with scale? What would that be? Or if it's in Tears of the Kingdom, or, adding into a sandbox what would actually be enjoyable to play around with.
Exactly. I think you also said something about time scaling or dimension scaling also.
Yeah, that was more of just an offhanded thing. I don't have anything super concrete. I think there's something interesting to be done with like maybe being able to adjust the flow of time, where you could speed it up or slow it down, the scale. But I'm not really sure what that looks like. I don't know. That's an idea that we'll kind of hold on to. Maybe maybe that gets added into something else that we're working on.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's important that today is just a brainstorming and idea formulating session, because usually game jams are 2 days, I think is pretty standard.
Right.
But he's made it 4 this year, GMTK. So we've got plenty of time to do this.
Right.
And I don't want to spend all 4 days crunching to make a polished masterpiece.
Right.
I want to spend 2 days making something fun to play.
Right. Exactly. And I think if you focus on just implementing one fun mechanic and then building other stuff around that, no matter what you do, you always have that fun mechanic, and everything else is icing on the cake. There's another idea that I had, and again, this is more of a concept. I don't know exactly how it would work, but a goldfish, I have learned, can grow pretty much to fit whatever environment it's in. If you start it out as a little guppy and it's in a little bag, it's gonna be about the size of that bag forever. But if you put it in, a giant tank, it's going to get a lot bigger. And if you are like, I don't want a goldfish anymore, and you throw it in your local pond, it's going to become a massive predator. I don't know if it's going to be a predator. It's going to become like a massive thing. And my grandparents did this once, and they caught the goldfish while fishing in their pond years later, and he was a monster. And I think there could be something funny and fun with the idea of like, I don't know, a goldfish scaling. Maybe you have to like find a way to, build your way into a larger pond, and then you get bigger, and then you scale to the ocean. And I think ultimately I would want this to end up in like the goldfish in space eating planets or something like that would be
very Katamari-esque, now that I think about it.
Yeah,
that could be
kind of.
fun. That could be fun.
Again, I don't really know. These are ideas, but they're not games. And I think we're gonna have to find a game and a concept almost, and then combine the two. But you have to find the fun game mechanic before you start doing anything. And right now, to me, just playing a game where you eat things and get bigger doesn't sound that fun. It's like well-trodden ground. A million things have done that concept, and I'm not as interested in it. If we can take some theme like that and take another concept we have and then apply a goldfish growing really big and taking over the universe.
A few words from our co-editor.
I'm gonna go check on her. Our other editor was crying over a sock. I'm not sure.
Aw, did you tell her she can come in here and join our podcast?
I tried, but she bit me.
Darn. I say, yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about for the remaining 5 minutes?
Nothing in particular.
I was gonna take a look at some of the past GMTK themes.
Okay.
Just give people, if they've never seen the GMTK game jam or anything, some of the old themes, maybe some of the old games. So last year's theme was roles reversed.
That was a pretty high concept one.
What big games came of that one? I don't know of any big games, because I want to look at some of the big stuff, because for those of you that don't know, some GMTK game jam games go on to become pretty popular outside of the GMTK circle.
Yeah. There was Boomerang X, I believe, became its own game.
Roller Drome?
Roller Dome, that was fairly popular.
That one was really good.
Oh, I think my favorite from 2023 was a game where you are a monster and you are trying to jump scare somebody who is doing a live stream. So they're like, so you're like, what? I don't know how to explain it. There's a person doing a live stream of a game, and you are the enemy in that game, like a Slender Man type character, following the player's avatar, trying to give them a jump scare. But the trick is you are watching the live stream on your phone, so you can like follow where he is based off of, uh, you know, what he's doing in the live stream, and you win by like making him freak out. It's that was a really funny concept.
I think I see that one on here. Streamer. Streamer.
Say that 5 times fast.
By Organzola. Shout out. That looks hilarious. I'm looking at all these, but my mind is on this year's theme.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I'm good with calling that a nice short and sweet. We will see you all tomorrow. Probably just as energetic as we are today. No coding happening today, most likely. And we hopefully will have a good idea of what the theme actually is for our game.
Yeah. See you then.
All right. Bye. And we are back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. CJ?
I prefer dill pickles.
Yeah, those look about the same.
Sick.
Okay, recording start.
Hey, we're back. Day 2.
Devlog 001.
Developer's log 001. It's going.
It's going. I'm going to say well.
Yeah. Yesterday we were like, oh man, if we could make anything. There's so many things. We got to think all day and not do any coding. We figured it out in like the first 2 hours. We're like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to stick to this.
Yeah, I'm going to say roughly like within an hour after the last recording, we had figured out what we were going to do. Totally the opposite of our last game jam. I think we spent a good 25% of that jam coming up with the theme.
Yeah, I think it was... I had a sort of idea for something, and then Sam came up with the actual... You came up with the actual scaling bits, right, for the pieces?
I think so.
Yeah, because in our brainstorming session, I was like, how about Tetris? Because the theme, again, is built to scale. How about Tetris, but you like scale downwards and you have to play on like mini levels of Tetris? But that's more like 4D Tetris. That's more... I think it would still fit the theme, but not quite the way that Mark is looking for, I don't think.
Right.
So we were like, Sam said, what about Tetris, but you could scale the pieces in directions?
Right. And I couldn't tell you where that idea came from. I just thought about like, it would be, again, going back to yesterday, thinking about what would be fun. The best part of Tetris is when you get a 4-block and, you have the opportunity to make a Tetris, or you can just, line yourself up. What if you could theoretically make any block a 4-block by scaling it in one dimension, but you run the risk of like making your piece impossible to use because now it's awkward and too big.
Yeah. And the thing that keeps me going is you just build a big tower on like the left side of the screen, and then you get a line, and then you expand that all the way down and get like, what, 10 or 20 Tetrises?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Oh man. I'm not very good at Tetris, but if I manage to pull that off, it's going to feel real good.
Oh, that is the dream right now. But hey, we got our idea, and we've been Actually did a bit of coding yesterday, surprisingly. We didn't think we would.
Yeah, we totally planned to just not even start on anything until the jam started. But pretty much right after that idea got floated, CJ was like, I want this. Let's do it.
I just really wanted to make Tetris, and that has been the hardest part so far. The people that made Tetris back in the, 80s or whatever, they're smart.
Yeah. I think you mean the person. I think he's just one guy.
The guy that made Tetris back in that day. Man, hats off to that guy. Friggin' genius.
For real. So what would you say has been the hardest part about coding the actual logic for Tetris?
Rotating the pieces, because if it's normal physics, you can just rotate something around an axis. But with Tetris pieces, they have to stay aligned to a grid, and they have to stay in shape when you rotate. And if they rotate into something, you have to not let it rotate into something. It's weird.
It is. If you don't know what we're talking about, go on your computer or on your Switch or your Game Boy, anything can play Tetris. Find a way to play Tetris and then just rotate all the blocks. It's not like rotating the block. It's pivoting it around an origin, but that origin is inconsistent between the blocks.
Yes.
It's in some ways like not the way I would expect them to. And so the challenge has been replicating that the way that they do it, but also not having to like hard code every single rotation position in, which would be annoying and probably bad programming.
There might be an easy stated solution online, but I'm really stubborn, and I've been trying not to look up Tetris specific stuff online for this jam. I've been trying to do it from the ground up, which is how I think game jams are more fun that way.
I agree. If eventually we get stuck on some random thing, I think it's fine to, take a little hint at the answer sheet.
Oh yeah.
But generally I'm with you. It's good and it's good practice to implement something.
No, don't get me wrong. This morning I was half a second away from scrapping everything I did yesterday and starting from the ground up with a guide.
We've got 2 words for all of you that use Godot, and that is physics process. If things aren't working and you're using physics, give that one the old Google search. That might be that was hours of problems yesterday.
Yeah, all solved by putting everything in the regular process into the physics process. Just adding literally one word to the function name.
Yeah.
Oh. Godot's great. I love Godot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is the first jam we've done with Godot. We've done a couple of smaller things for the show in Godot, but this is the first time we've tried to do an actual playable released game, and it's cool. It's cool. I've been working on the UI for the project, and it took me a little while to wrap my head around it, but Godot's UI system is pretty nice. Once I say that now, I haven't done anything too complicated, but I'm getting the hang of it, and it makes sense to me as somebody who primarily works with like HTML and CSS.
It looks good. I'm glad you said that you like doing UIs, because UIs are my nightmare, dude.
It's something that I don't get to do that often at work. I'm typically in the weeds of like classes and JavaScript and TypeScript, and it's nice to have something more visual to do that's different than what I would be doing in the normal work week.
Well, it's looking good so far. Sam got a bunch of custom fonts, and the one that we picked out looks really good. Sort of fits our whole systems in play vibe, which is awesome. I love it.
I was very happy when I found this font. Hopefully it renders well in the browser. I know fonts can be a nightmare sometimes, but I have hope. I think it's going to be good.
And we also picked I don't know if we're going to stick to it yet. We'll see how it works in game, but we picked a piece of music for this yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'll drop that in the SoundCloud if we end up using it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I like that piece. I made it I think a year ago or something.
Oh, damn.
I've been slowly building on it. That's my music process is make something like spend a whole day working on something, and then over the course of a year, spend like an hour a day working on the same thing. It's bad.
Oh, well, it sounds great. I
Thanks,
think it's
man.
very zone out and play Tetris. A good vibe to like give your frontal lobe something to pay attention to, so your spinal cord can just do the Tetris for you.
Very Balatro-esque.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to use it and then release it finally.
Yeah. I'm excited for that too. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the mechanic that we're imagining and how that's going to work.
Right. Right. Because right now, we're just working on making actual Tetris and the UI and stuff. We're building the foundation so that we can get to the fun part, hopefully later today or tomorrow.
Right. So our general idea is to have these regions that appear in the area where the block would be falling. You'll have like a line of a certain length, and when a piece of so terminology, a single block in Tetris is called a tetromino, and a single piece of that block is called a mino. We've learned that. So when a mino crosses into that region, it will expand by whatever to fill up the length of that mino. So, you might have a T block and you're coming down and you cross into a horizontal region. All of a sudden, the piece that crosses in is going to scale out to fit that region. And now you're going to have like a really funky shaped block if you're not careful. Or if you are, you could have like a really long T block that you could use sort of as a bar. So that's the general idea. We've also talked about doing some like scaling the map on level up, which would make using really long pieces more interesting if you had more space to play with.
And probably more demanding because you'd need to use that to fill up all the space.
Yes. And then the general idea right now is to make those regions, the scaling regions, appear whenever you have a line clear. And then the length of the region will be determined by how many lines you've cleared at a given point. So you can expand your piece by 2. If you cleared 2 lines, you can expand it by 4 if you get a Tetris, etc. And then maybe do some scaling of that based on whatever level you're on.
Mm-hmm. We played around with the idea of making, so usually it's going to be like a twin stick shooter almost, where one stick controls your tetromino that you're moving, and then the other stick would control the zone. That's one idea that we had. I don't know if we'll stick with that. It takes some of the chaos out, adds a little more skill, but I think it might also make it too easy. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's something we'll play with once we've got the actual stuff in play.
Right.
Yeah.
Once, exactly like you said, we can't even really think about that stuff too much now until we get Tetris itself working. And then we can just, try 100 different methods of this and see what is the most fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cannot repeat this enough. Right now, the hump is just getting Tetris to work. Right. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
We had a pretty big breakthrough before recording this, which is why we started recording on a high note.
Yeah.
I have a little factoid about Tetris that I would like to share with the audience.
Okay.
And that is each Tetris block has a name.
Oh, yeah.
Which, in addition to being like referred to as a tetromino, Tetris blocks have names. Yeah. You have Blue Ricky and Orange Ricky, which are the little lightning bolt shaped ones.
I'm glad you brought this up. No, Blue Ricky and Orange Ricky are the L's.
Oh, they're the L's.
Yeah.
Okay.
The lightning bolts are the Cleveland Z and the Rhode Island Z. I'm glad you brought this up too, because if you didn't, at the end of this, I was going to say shout out to Orange Ricky, and then we cut the mics.
Damn it, that would have been funny.
No, you're good.
What is the square one called?
Smash Boy.
Smash Boy is really good. And then
Boy's great.
the straight line is called Hero,
Wow.
which I love. Is very accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, and then what is the T?
Tiwi. I only know these names by heart because I spent all day yesterday staring at them and coding them into the code. They are in the code, by the way.
Yeah, of course. So before we end this one, CJ, so you're doing a bit more of the logical code for the game. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for you over the next day?
Oh man, that's a good question. Going to be getting like the physics working correctly. We've got it sort of working now. I'm thinking getting scoring working is going to be pretty weird. Trying to calculate when a line is cleared might be a bit weird. But I'm saying that now. Hopefully that's like easy when we get there. We'll find out. Right now, that's literally all I'm thinking about is, oh man, how am I going to clear a line?
Yeah, refer to the matrix of like sounds hard, is hard, sounds hard, is easy, looks easy, is hard.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that lands on that matricy.
Yeah. What about you? I know right now you're just doing UI stuff. We might tag out eventually.
Yeah. I think if I do anything with the actual logic of the game, that will be the hardest thing I do. In terms of the UI, I think the challenge is going to be trying to come up with a look and feel for the game that makes it stand out in the jam.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the points that it's ranked on is aesthetics. And right now, looking at the Discord for the jam, there's a lot of really cool stuff that people have. And I'm not an artist by trade. And so I want to come up with something that is within my skill set, but also will look good and stand out as a good Tetris game.
You say you're not an artist by trade, but like all of the art for the show has been done by Sam, and it is all phenomenal. I'm going to say that here.
Well, thank you. Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm excited. I say it's going to be hard, but it's one of the things I'm most excited for. So, good place to be.
It is very important because I know our last jam we did, this one has way more participants than the last one.
Yes.
And the last one had so many participants that I'm just going through this list of games to play because we're going to rank other people's games. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I'm just like, hey, this one's got a cool thumbnail.
Yeah.
Sold. So, yeah, art does go a long way. We almost didn't have a thumbnail on our first one, remember?
I do.
Oh, that was
We came up with it at the last possible second. But it was an amazing thumbnail. That is on our itch page now.
Yeah.
itch.io/systems-in-play, I believe. Will be linked in the comment section either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have an itch page now, by the by.
Yeah. And then whenever the game is finished, that'll be uploaded there. All that in the comment section or notes, whatever. Yeah.
That is day 2.
Day 2. We'll see you all tomorrow, or for you in 2 seconds.
Yeah, bright and early. For us, it's going to be a whole day of slog.
All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.
All right. And we're recording.
Hello.
Devlog 003.
Day 3 in the ghost house.
Is it? Are we on day 3? Day 4? No.
Day 4 in the ghost house. Yeah. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it technically is a 5-day jam because one of the days is split in half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we missed yesterday's recording, so.
Yeah. Sorry, we wouldn't have had much positive to say yesterday.
No, not really.
We were in the throes of debugging and making Tetris. CJ, how was your yesterday?
I don't know if you can debug something that just doesn't work. You got to make it work and then work out the bugs. Yeah, that was my yesterday, was making Tetris work. Day 1 was being like, Tetris, we could do that. Day 2 was the framework for Tetris. And then, yeah, yesterday was just trying to get it to freaking work.
If I recall, the first half of the day was finishing getting Tetris to work. Because it was like 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
But there was still some random stuff like line clearing, and some rotations were weird. Had that fixed up probably around noon, and then started working on the power-ups.
The second half of the day was one bug. One bug in the power-ups.
Oh.
So the way our power-ups work is you're playing Tetris, and one of your Minos touches a zone within the Tetris board, and then it will scale out to that. It'll scale out more Minos to the end of that zone on either side, or if you touch it at the end, all the way to the end.
Right.
The bug was, again, because I didn't look up any guides to making Tetris in Godot, and I'm very stubborn. I made Tetris using Godot's built-in physics engine to detect collisions, detect where you can and can't put a Tetramino.
Right.
That was a bad idea. Because a lot of my smaller projects, I'm like, I'll just do it this way, and then I can fix it later. I got all the time in the world. In a game jam, I don't know if you know, the point is you don't got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
So all my bad decisions at the beginning quickly caught up to me yesterday. But we got it working in the end.
Yeah. It ended up working. Word of advice to those using Godot. If something doesn't work, if you're using physics, number one, check the body type. Because static body doesn't always work the way you think it's going to.
Static bodies don't get detected by area 2Ds for some reason, even though they do sometimes.
Yeah, I still haven't quite wrapped my head around what was going on there. That is not the first time I've run into a bug like that before. I don't know if that's like an issue with Godot. Some people in the forums seem to think that it is. Unclear.
I think it's an issue with my understanding of Godot, maybe.
I mean, an area 2D has two functions. One is detect whether an area has entered the area, and then the other is detect whether a body has entered the area.
Right.
And one of those has the word body in it, which is the same as a static body, and they share the same root class. I'm still a little frustrated. I think it should work, but if things if collision isn't working the way that you think, check that. Then, if that's still not working, check look at which node you're actually getting, because you might not be touching the node that you think you are, and you might need to get that node's parent.
Yeah. It was, 2-3 hours of us just staring at we were taking turns sitting down and looking at my spaghetti mess of code, just trying to get this one thing working. And at the very end, I'm like, wait a minute. We're trying to get the Mino, but on the Mino we have a scanner, which is scanning what we're getting, and we're getting the scanner and not the Mino itself. And it was a friggin' mess.
It is like a nest of objects within nodes within. And if you're in that situation, check on that, because that might be what's wrong.
Yes.
In my camp, I've still been working on UI stuff, and then now migrating over to the art side of things. We have some designs and animation for the Tetris blocks. So when they fall down, they have like a little wiggling animation that stops whenever you land. I think it looks pretty cool.
It's really sweet.
I have basic wall design. Probably will end up changing those, but it's good enough for now. Finished up all of the like game over screen, I think the hardest thing I did yesterday was getting the preview of the next Tetramino and the held Tetramino, getting those to show up correctly in the UI. The biggest problem there was getting them to center correctly within the UI, because Tetronimos are weird, and they don't have the center is not always where you think it would be.
Yes, that is also the case with how I programmed it.
And I mean, open up Tetris on whatever and like rotate all the blocks, and you'll see like the square Smash Boy, it rotates around the center, but like the L, it's not rotating around the center of gravity. It's rotating around the like middle of the 3 block. It makes sense when you look at it, but when you have to think about programming it, that logic doesn't carry over 1-to-1.
Yes. It's like you can take any of the Tetraminos and their origin will be different no matter where you're moving it. If you guys know Blender, it's horrible. Horrible.
Maybe there's some weird math you could do to like find the true middle, accounting for all of the shape, and then snap it to the center of the nearest tetramino, but fuck that.
Oh, I know there is, but I decided to use the built-in Godot rotate function, which big mistake on my part. But it works, and it still uses the rotate function, so take that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it works great. It uses the physics system. It uses colliders. It uses whatever body you ended up using, and it works. It works pretty damn well, if I'm going to have to say so.
Thank you. It's turning out great. I also took a break yesterday, I remember, and did the music.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
If anyone spots it, when you pause the game, the music like drops the like bassy parts, and it just has the main melody.
It's pretty sweet.
I want to know how many people spotted that their first playthrough.
Does it do the same thing on the game over screen? Have we set that up?
We haven't got there yet.
Okay, it should be almost. It's because those share a game object, so it should work the same way.
It'd be sick if it was just the bass in the game over. It probably wouldn't sound good, but
we could probably do it.
We could try it.
Yeah, I think it would work.
It is just a like 6-bar repeat forever, so it'll probably drive some people insane. I know, working on it has driven me insane. I used to like this piece.
No, I still like it so far, but I have not played it as much as you.
Oh, man.
You also have a negative association now of
yes.
opening it and seeing something break horribly.
We might end up the last minute changing the entire song. We'll see.
Yeah, it all depends on how far we get today. So we have the rest of today and half of tomorrow. And I think we're in a pretty good state to finish things up and get some nice polish in. So you wanna do a quick walk through the things that we have remaining to do?
So we got the power up working. We just have to get it to spawn randomly around the Tetris map.
Mm-hmm.
We still got to implement scoring and all that.
Oh, this morning I was watching the Tetris speedrun video I was telling you about, summoning salt. Apparently I was wrong. Scoring is done just based off line clears. Has nothing to do with the blocks that drop.
Okay.
The menu I saw on the side wasn't the score of the blocks, it was the number of blocks of that type that you had dropped. It was like a little statistics menu.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Which would be cool to implement, but I don't know.
That'd be weird. Yeah. No. What else do we got? You have the game over screen. We just have to implement a game over. We have to implement losing.
Right.
Maybe a main menu.
Yeah.
Or at least a little startup with the tutorial for Tetris, or at least how we have the buttons laid out.
Mm-hmm. That'll be pretty easy.
What else, dude?
We said scoring. We said the thing. We need to get different colors assigned to the different Minos, to the different Tetronimos.
That shouldn't be too bad, I don't think.
No, we're using white, a single white image for the Tetronimos. Well, technically 3 white images because it's an animation. But when you do that, you can just modulate the color and set it in the code, which is really nice.
We gotta add different skins for the game. We gotta add some unlockables. No.
I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the DLC.
Yeah.
That will actually have the complete game in it.
Oh yeah. We gotta get the multiplayer networking done by tonight.
What was I gonna say? Shoot, there was a big thing we needed to do. Sound effects.
Yeah.
Sound effects. That was like the first thing my fiance said whenever she played. She was like, I cleared a line and I didn't get a little ding and I feel very sad.
Yeah. I would like to do more animations too with the scaling. Maybe a little animation when you break a line would be cool.
If we have time, I'd like to do maybe a little particle effect for that. They look maybe not as hard as I thought they were, and that would be kind of cool.
Essentials are getting the power-ups to spawn around, getting the scoring to work, and getting sound effects.
Right.
But then I would like a lot of extra polish at the end.
Yes.
Hopefully we can get all that today. And not have to do too much tomorrow morning or anything at all, ideally.
Yeah. Lest we forget actually setting up the itch page, getting a thumbnail put together.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do, but I do think a lot of it's going to come kind of quick, like for the scoring and for the line counter. I have all the endpoints set up for that within the UI code. We just need to wire it up with the actual game controller. I don't think it's going to be super hard.
No,
I'm feeling pretty good about where we are. And I got to say, with this 4-day time limit, I am not as nearly as stressed as I would have been.
Yeah, I'm not stressed, but I will say that I'm a lot more tired than our last game jam.
Yeah.
I am very fatigued.
I plan on doing almost nothing tomorrow. That is what I'm hoping for. I hope to sleep in and let my soft, mushy brain slowly coagulate back into a functioning organ.
I'm ready to play a video game that is not Tetris tomorrow. That's another really important thing with this development that we've been doing is Sam's had his Game Boy Color just sitting out, and at times we'll just pick it up and play Tetris just to see like what does what and how stuff does things.
Yeah, I did not expect it to be as useful as it was. I brought it out kind of as a joke, like, here, we could just play Tetris, and then ended up using it a lot.
Yeah, I kept like, oh man, I got to turn this back on, and then I got to mash start because, the old days, start was to how you started the game, not pressing A or play or whatever.
Yeah. Start doesn't do anything now except for, like, pause.
Exactly.
I wonder when companies are going to stop calling it the start menu.
Yeah, I think they have.
I guess Nintendo just does a plus. It's not called anything.
I know it's the options button on the PS4. I don't know about the PS5. Probably the same.
I remember people making a stink about when they changed it from start to options, and I think it is a totally reasonable change because nobody uses it for that anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't mind it.
No. I think some people are just going to get mad about anything.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of great progress pictures, progress videos in the Discord. And again, I don't know if I already said this in this podcast, but shout out to the guy in the Discord that said who's using Beatbox to make music. I didn't end up using that because I already had this other piece lying around in a different software. But I love Beatbox. It is so good. So whoever you were, random guy in the Discord, shout out to you.
And I love you, random citizen.
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but it does look very fun. It's an insane piece of software.
Yeah.
It's like a little MIDI controller in your browser, but also everything is written in JSON. Every time you make a change, it loads a new web page.
Yes.
It's crazy. Everything is done with URL parameters. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, it is so nice. Might end up using it to make the sound effects for this, I think.
Yeah. I think that would be cool. I don't think we've talked about it yet, but are you ready for Jam Part 2 that basically starts the second this one ends?
What do you mean?
The fear in your eyes. We have to go and play everybody else's games.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited for that part. Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, a big part of how you get your game to be seen is by going and playing other games and commenting on them. Because every time you leave a comment, the link to your game and the thumbnail appears in that comment. So I plan to spend a lot of time playing other people's games.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm going to any of them that's Tetris though. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to give you a pass.
Yeah,
I'm Tetrised out.
I think that's fair. Honestly, I don't know if I'd be able to rank them fairly. There may be a little conflict of interest there.
Yours is good, but it's not very mine.
Oh, I did this and you didn't do it, so you suck. 0 stars.
No, I'm just not going to play them outright. I'm sorry. I have played too much Tetris.
Oh, I am quite excited to see. Of the projects you've seen in the Discord so far, is there one in particular that you're excited to play?
I don't know. They didn't give a name. They just gave a quick video of, well, there's two. First off, they just gave a quick video of like a bunch of roads that were like all over the place, and it was 3D, and there were cars on the roads, and there were little arches that had the roads on top of them, and you had to like scale the arches up to let cars pass, but you might fling cars off of it. That looked really neat.
It looked really silly and fun. I'm excited to play that one.
And there was another one with no gameplay. It was just a picture of a 3D, like, I don't know, a Kirby enemy, but he looked like he was in Gothic knight armor, and I was so down for that. It looked cool.
That one does look cool. I am excited for one project I've seen a couple times. It looks like you're playing as a rat in like a medieval dungeon.
Okay. Oh, I've seen this one, yeah.
I don't really know anything else about it, but the art style looks really cool, and I like the idea of being a rat and running around and biting people. That sounds really fun.
That's just my day-to-day, dude. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy projects. Almost, what? How many participants this year? There's almost 30,000.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't think there will be 30,000 games.
No, I don't think so.
I think they say on average about 30% of the people who join actually submit, and then there will be a lot of people work in teams, so probably somewhere in the realm of like 5 to 10,000, which is a lot of games.
I didn't think about that. Would like many people join the jam, so it would say 30,000, but then they go to the Discord and they join a team. I never thought about that, because me and you, we just used one page,
right,
to join. Click the join button,
right. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's a super accurate number, but I'm certain that it's like a reasonable estimate for like what to expect in terms of scale. I think it's safe to say there's a lot of competition.
Yeah. It's interesting to see yesterday in the Discord, yesterday was day 3, and like 9 o'clock last night is getting late. People were still like, hey, we need a coder. Hey, does anyone need an artist, a music artist or anything? People are still joining teams, and there's like a day and a half left.
Yeah, that is not a mindset that I can understand.
It took all 4 of these days to get this working.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah. The defeated. Yes.
I typically wear a beard, but you can just imagine me with like 5 o'clock shadow on top of my beard.
Me too. Oh man, yeah. It's been like sun up to sundown. Like, we don't leave this freaking room, and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
This is why crunch is bad, people.
Yeah, for real. They say, I mean, we haven't been working till midnight every night, getting to sleep and everything. We've gone on, I mean, we would go outside more, but it's, yesterday it was 105 degrees outside.
Yep.
It's like horrible. I'm not going outside, sorry. So our options for escaping this room are somewhat limited.
Yeah. But it is almost over.
We are coming to the end. Theoretically, next time we're on mic, we'll have a completed game. And by the time you're listening to it, you'll be able to play it, unless we've been stricken down.
Yeah, unless something catastrophic happens.
In which case, maybe this episode won't go up.
Fair.
No, just kidding.
No, we got to put it out there. We got to wear our failures like a badge.
It's true. It's true.
But for you, it'll be like 10 seconds from now. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, me in 10 seconds. Good job on finishing. I'm proud of you. Go take a nap.
Me in 10 seconds. What the fuck are you doing, man?
Me in 10 seconds. I told you should have written that down. I told you should have written it down. I knew you were going to forget to do it. Why do you do this to yourself?
You forgot that bug, dude. You forgot the bug. You hit submit and forgot the bug.
I told you would forget to do the thumbnail art.
All right. See you later, folks.
We'll see ya.
Bye.
All right. And we are recording. We are back.
Hello. Hey.
Devlog 004?
Yeah. Yes, us from 10 seconds ago. We did forget the thing.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Idiot.
We did forget. We forgot to redo the title. The title screen of the game. It's not spelled right. If anyone caught that before hearing it from us, let us know.
Yeah. So the way it went is it was about 3:30 in the morning, and CJ noticed that it was misspelled, and he starts to fix it, and he goes, wait, no, you're doing the build on your computer, just make the change. And then we found another bug or something,
Yeah.
and we were like, oh, well, let's fix that. And then 45 minutes later, we're like, what were we gonna fix? What was that thing we were gonna change?
I don't know, dude. It's 3 a.m. I'm going to bed.
So yeah, the title is misspelled. It's okay though. It's not that noticeable, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But the move up instruction.
Oh yeah,
that was on purpose. Not a mistake at all.
That was yeah. He was completely intentional.
Yes. It's like a TikTok playing a Discord sound or having the wrong subtitles on purpose. Yeah. That's what it is. We're fishing for comments.
Yeah. Somebody say, what move up button?
But hey, this is the after credits for our devlog, basically. Game Jam's over. Well, the voting period is still going on, but all the submissions are in. There were 7,000, almost 8,000, I think.
Yeah, about 7,000 submissions. A lot.
Yes.
A lot. So far, it looks like there have been 80,000 reviews. A lot.
Yes. A metric shitten.
Yeah.
That is a lot. People are playing games this week, dude. Including us.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to say about did we even say the name? Did we have a name before?
Oh, about our game?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about our game. I don't know if we said a name, and if we did, we can cut it. It's called Tetris.
Tetris.
Entirely Sam's idea.
It was also very late, and I was doing something else, and then it came to me like God giving me a little blessing of knowledge, and I just turned around and shouted Sketris really loud at CJ.
He just turned to me with bloodshot eyes. CJ were calling it Tetris, and I looked back at him with bloodshot eyes and said, dude. So that's what it is. It's Tetris. It's a Tetris where you stretch the minos, the tetraminos.
Yeah, tetraminos. How do you feel? How do you feel post-jam? We've had a day or so to kind of ruminate on it, to bask, to let our brains slowly coagulate back in from like a liquid into jelly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad you asked today and not yesterday.
Yeah.
Because yesterday I would have said, fucking bad, I'm going back to bed. And there would have been no episode.
Yeah. I still think we should have recorded at 4 a.m. after we got done.
Yeah. Yes. That would have been a mess. Incoherent mess.
Oh man, I was so I was so dead.
Yeah.
I kept trying to like say things that were funny or interesting or and I could not put two words together to form a sentence. It was bad.
It was fun. It was a fun jam.
Yeah.
I want to say I feel good about it. I know we didn't implement everything we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's an overscoping issue. I think that was I programmed Tetris using the built-in physics of Godot issue, and that took us, I think, 2 of the 4 days.
It took a lot longer than what we expected, and it ended up being just generally more challenging. And also, I think the other mechanics that we thought were going to be easy ended up being more difficult because of the way we did the main mechanic as well.
Yeah, that's very much how I felt. After we got it, though, I think the 3rd day we eventually got it, and things just sort of started snapping into place, I think. Yeah. The last night, we stayed up till 4 to get it submitted because we didn't want to work on it Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yeah, we had Tuesday until noon to make the final submission. Technically 1 because I think they crashed itch.io again.
Oh no. Great. I'm glad we got it in then.
Yeah. It was just, we probably should have gone to bed and just did it, but I didn't want to do anything on Tuesday. I just wanted to rest.
No, that was a good call because rest I did.
Yes.
But no, that's why we stayed up really late. That it wasn't so much crunch as it was like just, I guess that's what crunch is, last minute changes.
Yeah. It just was like, a series of 5-minute changes that really added up.
Yeah.
The things that seem small, but like when it's so small and it seems so simple to add, let's get sound effects in real quick, Oh, and let's do, it wouldn't be that hard for me to like modulate the game over text in the end screen. And like, it's not that big of a deal, but it adds something and I know it's not going to take me that long. That to infinity is why we ended up staying so late.
Yeah, exactly. We had 4, essentially we did everything in 4 days, but I think 3.5 days in we had cooked the cake and that was it. We needed to do everything else. We had a cake and technically we could submit that, but there was a lot we needed to do to make it presentable.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, if we had submitted the cake as is, it would have been a good cake.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been a good cake, like maybe got like a layer of like cream cheese frosting in the middle, but no decoration on top. But doing the decoration was fun.
Yeah. It would have been a great cake, but it would have been one that I would have bought if I saw it in the store.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was fun. It was fun to be, honestly. I know you did most of the UI and the shaders. I seem to recall you had a lot of fun doing that. How was working with shaders? Because I've never worked with those yet.
Work with shaders is a strong statement because I tried to do them and then I ended up going to godotshaders.com and just, doing my best to understand what I was copying, but just copying stuff. It was a free license, Creative Commons 0 or whatever. But it was cool. I want to know shaders. I want to know how to use them. I feel like they are just really, really powerful. It's just math. I see shaders. I'm like, okay, this is why they made me take 4 calculus classes in college. Like,
exactly.
All those times I was like, I don't need this. I'm never going to use this as a web developer. I get it now. I get it because shaders are just all math. But they're cool.
Yes.
They're really cool. We have like a nice little TV static thing that shows up at the end of our when on the game over screen.
Or when you pause too.
Or when you pause.
You don't have to die to see it.
That was a shader. The text does like a little waving animation constantly. And then the background is a scrolling grid that matches the background of the podcast artwork. We very much pulled like a lot of the design from the stuff we do for the show.
Yeah. It has such a like a VHS vaporwave aesthetic. This whole game did. Anyone that goes and plays it on itch, sure, play the game, but also like pause and just take a look at the background. Look at all the extra things that went into it. That was all Sam. It was really well done.
Thank you. It was really fun. In my day job, I have to do a lot of like, back-end web server, AWS, like very not glamorous, boring stuff, and getting to like do the opposite end of programming and getting to do visuals and artwork is, it's nice. It's very nice. I think if I was having to do just heavy coding, I would have a lot less fun.
Speaking of which, would you say that your experience on your day job helped root through my absolute mess of code when you had to link any of the actual gameplay to the UI?
To an extent, I did like. There was a period of time where I was using Python for everything, and then for boring reasons, we switched over to TypeScript. And TypeScript is JavaScript with types. JavaScript has a pretty notorious reputation for being like, not necessarily a bad language, but it's just a lot of people don't like it, and it's very popular. That's an infamous combination of people don't like it and it's popular. It can do everything. It's really neat, but it's not object oriented technically. I mean, they've added. See, it wasn't originally, but now they've added objects into it, and then some of the objects are only in TypeScript, and it's weird. Anyway, a long roundabout story just to say, like, I was worried when I started using that it would diminish my ability to, like, work on projects like this. But that's not the case at all. It turns out, like, don't worry about what language you're using. It all kind of carries over. A lot of the maybe if you're using some really weird stuff, maybe, but like knowing how to code at all is really helpful. Being familiar with object-oriented programming and using classes and stuff, it all kind of carries over in basic data structures. And it definitely was really helpful. And I didn't really have a lot of issues like following what was going on.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Because I had issues following what was going on, and I wrote this stuff.
Well, it helps that I have you. Like, if there was even a moment I was a little bit stuck, I'm like, CJ, help me. What does this do? What does this mean?
A few moments, I think you mean. But yeah, no, that's the advice I give to anyone that asks like what language to use. Just pick one. Just pick one, because once you learn how to code, the language doesn't matter. Exactly. It's not like speaking an actual language.
Right. Right. Yeah. You can just kind of pick the language that will help you do the type of thing you're interested in doing. That's a lot of people say, start with Python because it's easy, but what are you going to do with Python? Like, what do you actually, like, as somebody who's wanting to get into code, what are you going to do with it? That's what I found out when I first started with Python. Well, one of my first languages was Python. And I was like, oh, I can like make command line applications and server backends with this. And that's cool, but that's not really what I was. Well, I'm like, well, you can't really make games with Python. There's a thing called Pygame, but it's not super popular. You can't really make apps with Python. So, say what you will about JavaScript, but you can make a website that's interactable. You can make games with JavaScript. You can, you can make interactions. I like working with UI. I like working on like the user facing level. And so JavaScript, HTML, CSS, stuff like that works well for me. So if you're getting into, programming or game development, try and pick like an avenue that will enable you to work on the type of projects you want. That way, once you understand the language, you can actually do something with it.
Yeah. as someone who's programmed stuff for freaking years now, I have a vague understanding of the difference between Java and JavaScript. And I know there is a big difference, but every time I hear Java or JavaScript, I've never... What is the difference between those two?
So JavaScript is a scripting language like Python, meaning it's, I think the right term is like it's just-in-time compiled, which means the code is compiled when it needs to run rather than like all at once. Functionally, like, and like, if I got that wrong, I don't know, sue me.
I couldn't tell you. So
I'm a programmer. It's what I do, but I'm not like that much of a nerd about programming, if that makes sense. It's a tool for me, not like a lifestyle. But Java, it's more like for making apps. It's just an older thing, and then I think at some point was like, okay, Java's so popular, let's make a lightweight version of JavaScript that can run in the browser.
okay.
And that was JavaScript. And now I think JavaScript has probably succeeded Java in popularity, but Java clings on. Every now and then you'll still find Java apps out in the wild. I think there's still some core function of Windows that runs on Java.
My first programming class was Java the whole semester. And I think that was literally it, and I haven't touched it since.
Same. I don't really get that. Going back to like teaching people things that they can use, there's not a lot you can do with Java in 2020. I mean, you can do it at you can do anything with it technically, but it's just not a language that's going to enable you to work with it in the future.
But again, I think that was the first language I learned, but I think everything after that, after learning how to code even in Java, every language I learned after just was sort of building on top of that.
Yeah.
So again, the language doesn't matter too much. Learn what's going to help you, but you can learn other ones. They're not that bad.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
That being said, this is one of the first, this is the biggest project we've definitely done in Godot. And we use the built-in language GDScript rather than C#. What are your thoughts working with Godot at this scale compared to, the smaller projects we've done before? And then further compared to working with Unity on our last jam?
Oh, it is day and night. For someone as small as us, just two people, I think it is day and night how much better Godot is. I brought this up when we were actually making the game. Unity can do so much, and it can do stuff outside of game development. Not saying Godot can't, but I feel like Godot is more focused on that, and it just makes everything so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. There's just concessions that you have to make when your app is so multi-purpose. And there's also just some patterns in Unity that don't make that much sense to me. I'm going to complain about the animation controller in Unity forever. I worked on a fairly big project for work in almost exclusively Unity's animation controller. And if I had to open that now, I could not tell you how to use it. It just doesn't click with me. And Godot, I didn't even have to open a tutorial. I just was like, okay, you put the thing on the timeline, and then, oh, this button looks like the play button. Oh, and that works? I think the one thing I had to look up was that I had to start the animation within the code itself. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? Oh, animation player.play.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was easy.
Godot is so good, dude.
Oh, it's nice.
Oh man, the animation player specifically is really good in Godot. You could probably do this in Unity, but like the fact that you can key just about every parameter into the animation player, like I want at the end of this animation for the sprite to shrink, and you could just key that into the animation, no code needed.
Yeah,
it's so nice.
And like with Unity, when it was no code needed, I'm pulling my hair out and screaming and crying.
Yes.
I'm like, please just let me do this in code. It's not the case. Godot even though there's a lot of it that's very similar, it just works and makes more sense to me. I can't tell you why. I still probably have significantly more experience in Unity than I do Godot, but Godot just clicks for me.
Yeah. It's real nice. I had something I was going to say, but it went out the other ear. I will say anything in the animation player that you do want to do in code, this isn't what I was going to say, but anything you do want to do in code is you can just, like, from the animation player, call a method in the function and pass it parameters.
Yeah, which is insane and really cool.
Yeah. No, still don't remember what I was going to say, so.
I've grown to love signals in Godot. Signals are awesome. I think I may have overused them, or maybe just not used them correctly in this, but I still really like them, and they make a lot of sense to me. It's just a way for different classes to talk to each other, and it's almost signals. I mean, everything is public by default in Godot. So if you want to, or in GDScript, so you want to call a function, you just do it. You don't have to like export. You don't have to set it to public. You just do it. So this is not something you have to worry about. But the Godot version of having public functions is signals, which is like, I'm going to notify, send out a notification when this thing happens, and then you can have listeners that react based on that. And that paradigm just makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm mostly focused on UI stuff and animation, but getting like all of the game logic parts of it were so smooth and so okay, whenever this thing update showed in the UI, okay, that took me 5 minutes. Next.
I remembered what I was going to say. The thing about Godot, anytime something wasn't working, I never felt it was Godot's fault. Whereas when we were doing stuff with Unity, there were times where I'm like, damn it, Unity, do the thing.
Everything says that you should do this. Yes. Why aren't you doing this? There was one instance, though, where that was not the case. I think we talked about that last time, and we won't belabor the point, but I'm not sure what's going on with the tech shape versus the tech body.
Yeah. But all in all, I think it was fun. It was a fun experience.
Yeah, I'm really happy that we did it. Mm-hmm. This has been, you've been watching GMTK forever, like since 2017, pretty much, 2016 maybe. It's really good. Really like his videos. I've always been like, oh, one day I'm gonna do the jam. Mm-hmm. I did it. We did it this time.
Yeah.
We pulled through. We did it. We submitted. And I'm really happy with what we came out with. Mm-hmm. I'm really proud of the results.
Me too. Now you want to talk about the stuff that we didn't do that we were gonna do?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So I know one of the comments from our game was that the controls were weird, and I said this. I replied to the comment in the way that I coded in the controls. The way that I made the controls were the same way that I set up my controls in Tetris 99. And I have had people tell me that's not. Why are you doing that? So we planned on having stuff to be rebound, but we never did. We cut real close to the time limit.
Yeah.
Our personal time limit.
Yeah. we could have stayed up all night and worked on it the next day. Not happening.
No.
One of the things that was higher on my list that we didn't get to do was some accessibility options.
Yeah.
I wanted to include a colorblind mode. I wanted to include an option to turn off all of the shaders I implemented because I don't think I ever got motion sick, but looking at the wavy text and then looking at the code, the text continued to wave.
That happened to me a few times.
And by the end, I felt like I was going insane because everything was just waving.
Yeah, that happened to me a few times too.
So I think it's not, if it was a text-heavy game, it'd be a different thing. In reality, there's like 4 menu options that have the wavy text. So it's not that big of a deal.
I think the biggest thing was that we were going to have... So the theme was built to scale, which we said it in the first devlog, part of the devlog. We were going to have the actual stage itself sort of scale out as you played Tetris, which would add to the whole built-to-scale theme. But just implementing Tetris itself and then implementing the one scaling power-up that we did have took, I think, like I said already, 3.5 of the 4 days.
Yeah.
But that was definitely one thing we wanted to have, was a scaling stage to go along with the scaling tetriminos.
Yeah, I think that would have been cool, because you can get these scalars and you can make your pieces extremely long, and our thoughts going in is that it would be overpowered and you would just be getting line clears constantly. In reality, that isn't really what happened, and so I'm curious still to see how it would have played. I'm still curious to see how it would have played, but I'm not certain it would have been as interesting as we thought it would have been.
A really cool thing with part of the game development process, if you're developing an actual game and you release early access, one of the comments was like the spawning power-ups were more of a detriment to them than an actual power-up, which is what we had initially planned. And that made us think like, oh man, we should have spawned these every time you lay down a tetrimino, because it could either be a power-up or a detriment.
Right.
And I think that would have been more fun, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean that's like 10 minutes of change, like worth of change. That's a super easy change.
That was one line change, I believe.
But submissions final, pencils down. That's not something. Well, maybe we can like update the game later, and I think it'd be fun to have like A mode and B mode, like classic Tetris did. But it's I am just still really interested that was what the take was, because when we were designing it, I really did imagine it as like, here's a little gift for you. Congratulations on clearing a line. Now you can make your piece really big. And people are like, I don't want that. It scares me.
Exactly.
I'm afraid of what's going to happen if I touch that thing.
Yeah. We were developer blind, if that's the term. Because we knew how it worked, and we're like, oh, this is cool. But
Yeah.
showed it to the world, and they were afraid.
So we should have given them more.
Yes.
It's that's why you play test.
Yeah.
And that's just not a luxury you have while jamming.
Nope. By day 3, not even 3.5, day 3, I was tired of Tetris.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about some of the other submissions that we've seen and some of the other feedback that we've gotten. But before we move on from Stretchris, what do you think in the next jam we do you'd like to do differently next time? Like with what we've learned from this one, what do you think you're going to take forward?
That's a good question. Do you have an answer to this while I think about mine?
I do, and it's something you said earlier and something I saw reflected in a lot of comments, which is you don't get to the actual mechanic until several days into development. And looking through the progress pictures in the jam, people would say, okay, it's day 3. Now I finally get to do the main mechanic of my game. I don't know what that looks like, but I think the next project we do, I want to try and do something where we can get the main mechanic in as quickly as possible. Or maybe, we try, that was what we, it was the first thing we did was try to implement Tetris, but it was just hard.
Yeah.
It was just really difficult. And so just trying to find a way and maybe picking a theme around how can we get our main mechanic in quickly? That way we can start testing to see if it's fun.
That is smart, yeah. Because we literally couldn't test our thing until we made Tetris. There was no way.
Right. It was just a huge block to the entire process.
And even then, I think the thing I want to take away is your thing, first off, but also I want to make a game that I can play. Like, I'm okay at Tetris, but getting to the higher level, we literally couldn't play test the higher levels because we're not that good at Tetris. Like, we're not Tetris gods.
Let me say, CJ is significantly better at Tetris than me, so I cannot make it past the second level.
I had trouble making it past the second and third level. It got too fast, I think, too quickly. But I don't think that was a Tetris thing. I think that was a skill issue. But yeah, I think next time I would like to make a game that we can actually play.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm not sure. I don't know what those look like in practice, but it's just something I'm gonna keep in mind as we're like picking themes in the future.
I know you're allowed to use stuff that you've already made, like code you've already made. If we could make this probably is cheating or dumb or not worth it, but if you could make like the baseline for a few games that, like, as we're doing more game jams, we'll build up a baseline
Right.
for like a bunch of simple games, and we can just, if we have a cool theme, we're like, oh, let's add this to this, and it doesn't even have to be the same graphics, the same music. It doesn't have to be any of that. It's just, oh, here's the code for that, and then we can do the actual thing.
Right.
That might be one way to do it, but
and even if you don't actually like reuse any code, doing it at all the first time, like, I know we could implement Tetris in like half the time now.
yes,
Because we know. And the same goes for like, you've had your little RTS project that you did. I guarantee even if you didn't use any of that code, you could put something together fairly quick. And I think that's kind of how it worked with me, like wiring up the UI and stuff. I did the example Godot project like a year ago. And I was like, oh, wait, I somehow like innately remember how this works, and it's not that bad. So the solution is make more games.
The last thing I think I want to take into our next game jam is I want to let you do more of the mechanics next time. For both Caterpillar and this one, I think I hogged all the mechanic programming. I'm going to let you do more next time. I felt bad.
I feel bad because I made you do all the hard work.
I thought it was fun. To me, I think like making games, or I guess any kind of programming at all, the most fun to me, and this is probably not a good mindset to have, the most fun to me is whenever it's like Play-Doh, where I know what I want. It's just up to me to make it, and I'm like not looking up guides. I'm trying not to look up guides. I'm just trying to look up the API at most.
Right.
And that's, to me, the most fun game jams and programming can be.
That's cool. I like that. That's a good mindset to have. Like I said, I do a lot of that in my day job, and getting like, it is a treat for me to get to do the UI and to do like all the other stuff. I definitely enjoy that. I love Godot's theme system. I still don't understand why the way horizontal and vertical boxes work. They don't. Sometimes the horizontal ones are vertical, and I don't understand why. And I wanted to cry when you were like, hey, can we shift these apart by like 10 pixels so we can put something in the middle? And it took me an hour and a half to do that.
I didn't. Oh man, I didn't even realize. Oh, it's great.
But you were right. I was like, no. It needs to be like that. I see your vision. You're correct.
Yeah. But it comes with practice. I want to do more with the UI as well. Because it seemed pretty intuitive. Like,
yeah.
I think day 2, or maybe even day 1, you like had the background already, the graph going, and I was like, holy cow, that looks clean.
Oh, there was one guy that I watched 2 tutorials on how to do it. One was like, okay, you need to use sine and cosine, and if you use this logarithmic function and you multiply them by pi, then you'll get a mathematically perfect grid every time. And then another guy was like, for eye and grid size, draw a line, and I go, that one. And it worked. Sorry, whoever made the first one, that one worked better for me. The weird thing is his was so complicated and so, I mean, genuinely very complex math. I'm very impressed. I couldn't do this, but you couldn't change the background color. It like, because of the way he did it, it's like using color gradients to like force colors to be in a certain direction.
Huh.
But the gradient is always black, whatever color. I'm like, that doesn't. I want to change the background. And this works for him, and I'm sure this guy is so smart that it wasn't even on his radar. But yeah,
that's what I like about programming. Again, the Play-Doh analogy. There's no one right way to do it, and it's good. It's good.
Yeah. This was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was great. I can't wait for the next one.
Me neither. All right. I thought maybe we could quickly go through some of the other games that we've liked.
Yeah.
And then call it from there because we have to edit this in 2 days.
Oh yeah. Oh crap. Okay.
Cappy and Tappy is, I found it because I went to the Jam and I searched Tetris because I wanted to see what other people did with the concept that we had. And
I was afraid to, not gonna lie.
I was afraid to. I figured somebody would have our exact concept, and
yeah,
I figured somebody would have our exact concept and do better than us. Was not the case. But Cappy and Tappy was one of the ideas that you had, I think, earlier on, as the idea was like we play Tetris, and then the game like scales out, and then you're like a character having to climb up the Tetris blocks.
Yes.
They took that idea and instead, well, I mean, sort of. So you're not playing Tetris. Instead, with your mouse, you control a crane that drags Tetris blocks onto the field. With the other hand, you are using WASD to control a little capybara who has to scale up the Tetris blocks. It took me a while to get used to the controls, but I found out that's because this game is not necessarily meant to be played with 2 players, but it is definitely done with that in mind. What is the most interesting thing about this game to me is that you have the ability to rotate the pieces. Obviously, it's Tetris, but there are different. So you can only jump up 1 Mino in height. You can only jump up 1 Mino in height. So you have to be very careful about how you place things so you don't block yourself in, or make a situation that you put a block that's too high, you can't jump up, and there's no room behind you. I forgot to mention there's like constantly water rising up in the game, so you're on a time limit for how quickly you can do this. First couple levels, you're really just like stacking blocks and trying to get out of the room. Get into the later levels, they will have spikes on some sides of the blocks, which, okay, well, I need to jump up 1 space. I cannot put this block there in this direction because there's a spike. So now I have to rotate it and rethink how I'm going to position it. Not only that, but the checkpoints are tied to a side on the block. So you have to think about, is it worth it to put this block in a not as advantageous position if I can get a checkpoint out of it? And the checkpoints only last until the water level rises above the checkpoint, which is really cool. It's like a temporary checkpoint.
Yeah, that was really neat.
I've never seen a game do a checkpoint like that, and I thought it was really interesting. The game has a really funny like levels 1 through 13, and they have level 666 at the end that I think just takes all of the mechanics and throws them into one insane level there are these giant spikes on the floor that if you try and put a Tetronimo on that spike, it will break. So you have to you just have a really limited amount of space in which you can put things. There are certain blocks that have arrows shooting out of the side of it. It's just cool. This game is just so chock full of ideas, and I think I have to think that this is the type of result you get when you can take the concept that you have, implement it really quickly, and then just build on top of it. Because they had a cool concept to begin with, and then they had, 2 or 3 days just to iterate and add on to it. And I think that's what made it so good.
Mm-hmm. Man, anytime I opened up one of these games and they had more than just the gameplay itself,
Yeah.
they have like a menu screen, or they have, one of them had a character customization. You can change the color of your robot.
Whoa.
Just like anytime you've had more than just the bare minimum game, I'm impressed. You got me. That's really good.
Yeah.
Because we had, I think, a start screen, and then you play the game, and then you die.
We got a start screen. We got a pause menu.
We got a pause menu. That's true.
Yeah. We have a game over screen, which is the pause menu with different text.
We were going to implement cheat codes.
Oh, yeah. That is my biggest regret, is that we didn't get to do the cheat codes.
Those were going to be fun.
I'd say it's not too late, but right now I don't even want to think about Tetris.
No, me neither, dude. Me neither.
We wanted to do maybe a purple and yellow theme for systems in play. You type that into the cheat code. We wanted to do a Godot head default icon, which is how we played Tetris for 90% of the time.
Yeah,
with Godot heads.
Yeah.
That was really, that would have been, a cheat or an unlockable or something.
I wanted to do debug modes. You could see the collision boxes.
Those looked insane.
They were terrible because of the way I had it set up. So,
I still wanted to have some kind of, you get a really high combo, or you get like a 10 Tetris or something, and your reward is it just plays an entire episode of this podcast.
That's not a reward, dude. I'd already be going insane from playing Tetris.
I know enough about the web that I would maybe try and make it to where they couldn't turn it off, and some just do some really negative practices, force a download on their computer.
Absolute
Open 500 tabs.
Absolute evil. Oh my god. For anyone that does play it, though, we did add one Easter egg.
Oh yeah.
You have to get more than a Tetris. A Tetris is clearing 4 lines at once with a long piece. In our game, you can do more than that.
Yeah.
So try it.
Yeah. Try to see if you can get more than 4. That's the fun. That's the fun part of it. And we wanted to reward the people who noticed that was the cool thing about it and tried it.
Mm-hmm. But enough about our game. The last thing I want to talk about is a neat little game that I played called Summoner's Torment 11-2. It is a spoof on Final Fantasy. It is a very short, very sweet game, but it has those sweet PS1 vibes that I strive for one day. You play as the summoner of your group, and in the Final Fantasy games, when you summon a creature, it does a big attack and then it disappears.
Yeah.
So in this game, you're playing as the summoner, who has to also heal the rest of the party while summoning the creature. And it's a series of 3 WarioWare mini games, and it takes no time at all. It's a short, sweet game, but it's really well made, really well thought out.
It was like a 5-minute long joke.
Yes, that's all it was.
I love that. I think that is a great way to do a game jam.
Yes, it was really neat. I figured out, so once you build up the large-scale attack with the demon that you summon, you actually have to use it on the enemy. I figured out that you can just use it on your own party and in the game. So I played it twice. Developer, if you're listening, I played your game 2 times because I fucked it up the first time.
That's so funny.
It's really funny. But shout out, we almost forgot the developers of these games that we just talked about.
Oh my god, yes, thank you. for Cappy and Tappy. So that was submitted by Declan Morrison, Diary Kills Me, and Oliver Philbrick. And I believe they have a studio name, The First Pancake. Shout out to The First Pancake.
Oh, nice. Shout out to the developers of Summoner's Torment 10-2, Ollie Ludovino, Huge Girl, and I Can't Believe It. You guys made a really fun, neat little game. Thank you.
Yeah, same for Cappy and Tappy. Excellent work. And just all the other people who participated, great job doing this, taking 4 days to spend so much time and effort on something. It's cool.
Yeah. That's the Game Jam, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Game Jam. GMTK 2024. I'm sure we'll post on our everything whenever the winner video is announced, because you should go watch that. It's always really good. It's always really interesting to see what takes people have on the theme. I don't have high hopes that you'll see us in that video, just because there are 7,000 other games in this jam.
Yep.
But you should still watch the video anyway. It's really cool, and there's a lot of work that goes into making these things happen and putting together the video. It's great.
And to those that are listening and haven't participated in a Game Jam and you want to participate in a Game Jam, go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it. It doesn't matter if you don't think you're good enough. Doesn't matter whatever. You're never going to if you don't.
You're never going to if you don't. Sam, 2024.
It's true. I stand by that.
No, you don't. You don't even have to submit. Just as long as you click join and you try, that's the first step. That's all it takes.
Yeah,
just keep at it.
Go in, remake the easiest game you can think of, and put a different color palette on it.
Our first game was Snake.
Yeah, our first game was Snake, and we had one minor twist. Our second game was Tetris with one twist.
Our third game shall be Pong.
With no twist.
With no twist, just Pong.
All right. I think that's the episode. We will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
That was a bad idea.
Yeah.